Hi guys, Bran here, and welcome to another commentary video. Today, we're going to be talking about the concerning new meta that could potentially be rising in DBD after the recent mid-chapter patch. Mid-chapter patch. I actually like a lot of the changes. I've played both sides multiple days since the mid-chapter update, both Killer and Survivor, and for the most part, my matches have gone better, I feel like. I have more fun on the game on average, which I know is a very, different take, because I know a lot of people say that the game feels more stale and more boring, but I am definitely happier to not deal with some of the more annoying stuff on both sides, like Circle being not as great on the Survivor side, at least not allowing you to self-care, Dead Hard being weaker, but also on the, playing the Killer stuff that was annoying, like Overbrine Eruption, or Eruption already got nerfed, but yeah, Overbrine, that sort of thing. So I like not having to deal with those, so my games have been generally better. But I have been seeing kind of a new meta start to kind of creep in, at least from my games that I've played on Killer, that I'm not too enthused about. And I want to say this first and foremost. This isn't one of those situations where it's like, wow, Killer mains always find something to complain about. I'm not saying this is like, oh, well, we need to immediately nerf imbalances. I'm just saying, as somebody who has played this game for a really long time, I see the playstyle already shifting. So I just kind of want to point it out and kind of go, I feel like if this becomes popular, if this becomes mainstream, this is definitely not good for us in the long run. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So the thing that I have noticed coming into the new meta when I'm playing Killer is there's a definitely greater emphasis on immersion. And to generally define immersion in Dead by Daylight, I'm just talking about people hiding a lot, whether they duck in lockers, they crouch around corners, they use very frustrating perks like Distortion, Shadow Step, to essentially try to greed gens without being caught. This has always been a thing of Dead by Daylight. It has never not been a thing of Dead by Daylight. Obviously, it got, like I said, way more popular when Distortion got buffed, because that made that playstyle way stronger. So yeah, that kind of started kind of peeking its head here and there after the 6.1 update, with Distortion getting better. But I didn't really get a whole lot of immersed games. I would get immersed Survivor squads like 3 times a month, if that. 3 times a month, if that. However, post the mid-chapter, I've had immersed games at least once a day, and there was one day last week where I literally had 3 immersed Survivor games in one day of play, and that's only like 4 to 6 hours. I had 3 whole games where people were immersing around. Every time I'd walk around, they'd be like crouch walking away. And yeah, that would require adjustment on my end to run stuff like Nowhere to Hide and stuff like that, or like maybe Floods of Rage, and adjust to that. But I've been kind of like going at the wall here and trying to play like not the same, but kind of mostly the same as I did before the mid-chapter update. But that's been difficult because people have been ratting. People have been ratting a lot more since the update. Now, this has already, like I said, already been an advent of a thing with like Distortion, but it's also been kind of something that has been very common because of the Getaway From Me perks, as I like to call them, like Lithe and Sprint Burst, is that's kind of a playstyle that was getting popular when people first found out that Dead Hard was going to get nerfed in this mid-chapter patch, which I'll make a video about that tomorrow, on how I feel about that. But they were kind of already moving towards the Getaway From Me perks, the perks that require almost 0 input that allows you to just zoom away from the killer. But now they're starting to stack that playstyle with just straight up immersing, which means they're going to hide behind a rock. When you show up, they leave no scratch marks, no sign that they're there, besides the fact that gen's been worked on. If you don't have nowhere to hide and you kick the gen, they're just going to tap it the moment you leave. And even if you do find them, they just sprint burst away, go to the nearest window, and light the way. And that playstyle is incredibly frustrating. It essentially boils it down to this kind of like really annoying game of hide and seek, which, I will always say, and I will contest this till the end of time, the most fun thing about Dead by Daylight for both the Killer and Survivor end of things is the looping. Even though that was not intended by the devs, that ended up being like the mainstay of DBD's gameplay. The thing that makes it fun, makes it exciting, makes people come back to the game is the looping. And I just didn't expect the Getaway From Me to meta to also suddenly just do the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance with the rat gamers. So now we have the rat gamers using the Getaway From Me meta, where they would probably be crutching Dead Hard and probably missing it, or getting cucked by latency. But now all those gamers are now moving on to Sprint Burst and Lithe, so now we have rats that even if you find them after looking for them around a gen for a long time, they just speed away immediately. And those games are so boring. Those games are so boring, so boring. Games with sides, any sort of versus game where two sides are facing each other, the most amount of interaction is always preferred. You should always prefer to have your players interacting as much as possible, obviously in a fair manner, in a fair way. But you should always have the two players, the two sides interacting as much as possible. And this new play style that I'm seeing emerge is just very like, don't touch me, don't interact with me, just let me M1 on the gen, and if you come near me, I'm just gonna hide, and if you find me, I'm just gonna zoom away. And I don't know, I don't think the future of the game will be bright if that's what we head towards, because like I said, that's a lack of interaction among the players. That's essentially them doing a mini game and you doing a mini game, but like we're not crossing. We're not actually getting to interact and do the fun part of the game, which is just chasing. We're just like two ships passing in the night. And I just, especially with a double-sided game where there's one side facing the other, you should never have that situation where the two players are occupying the same match but not really interacting with each other. It just seems, or interacting with each other is a little possible. It just kind of fundamentally goes against like how that should work. Like just generally how that should work. So yeah, I don't know. This is something I want to levy with you guys. This has been my experience, but I don't know if that's been your guys' experience. When you guys play Killer out there lately since the mid-chapter update, are you seeing more immersed gamers? Are you seeing more people running like Sprint Burst Lithe or like, you know, hiding around gens and then immediately zooming away? Is this something that's been happening to you? Because it's been happening to me. Like I said, it used to happen 3 times a month, and now it's been happening like 3 times a day. So like it is definitely upticked in a huge way compared to how it used to. And I really hope that this meta does not take over the game, because we're gonna have very long, very boring hide and seek games, and that's just not gonna be it. So yeah, let me know if this happens to you. Let me know if this is something you're afraid of. But that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, friends. I appreciate y'all. But I will see you in tomorrow's video because I upload daily. But if I don't, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.